Hi everyone, good evening. I'm Benjamin Mizrahi in this live session, weekly live session. And this time is about the mistakes we parents make with our children's occupational and speech therapists and how to really get more out of the sessions. So, really today, when we are talking about occupational and speech therapists, we first of all would like to discuss uh, who they are and define their role in the lives of our kids. So, occupational therapists, speech therapists, are really practitioners who earned a graduate degree in speech pathology and occupational therapy. They have learned extensively about human development, how we develop certain skills, and they're very adept in child process of development. We can learn a lot from them. They are passionate about helping young people and their families. And they're very knowledgeable, as I said, in language development and human development. And they can really help us understand what to expect and what to not expect of our children, and sometimes even better than the pediatricians. I say sometimes even better than pediatricians because they work in the educational setting when it comes to our kids. So it's sometimes more of the I would say the educational part comes into play, more of the physical development, and I think that's where the OTs and the occupational therapists and speech pathologists or speech therapists can really be very helpful. Now, as opposed to teachers, OTS, OS, and are very accustomed to working one on one or in small groups, and they're very much child centered. Their approach. As opposed to teachers, usually teachers, they teach, of course, they are instructors, they teach large groups, could be 5, 10, 15, 25, even more, larger, a bigger number. So it's a different approach, and I think many times if a teacher has a friend who is an occupational therapist or a speech pathologist, I think he's very lucky because these are people who are completely 100% child centered and centered, and they can pinpoint on certain issues and aspects of the instruction that can really help teachers. But for now, we're going to talk mostly about us parents and what we should not do and how we can take a better steps to help ourselves and get more of the sessions. Okay, so really, the biggest mistakes that parents make with their children's occupational therapist and speech pathologist or speech therapist. First, we think of it more like another tutoring session instead of a training program. You see, when we hire a speech pathologist or occupational therapist, it's really because we notice that our children, they need help. They need help in the way they develop their orientation in space with their body, or fine motor skills, or gross motor skills, or the language acquisition, and skills that are related to, again, body, physicality, and language. So when we hire them, when we start working with them, it's not about getting homework done or getting them to prepare our kids to ready for tests. It's really to achieve certain goals. So many times I see parents who look at it as, just I have the math tutor for my son, and tomorrow is the OT, and they really see it as a tutoring session rather than really a training program. Most of us, that's number two, most of us do not stay to observe the sessions. We come, if it's in the studio or in a library, or if they come to our homes, we usually leave them alone, and we either just leave, right, and come back at the end, or just stay outside. We don't really stay to observe the sessions, and I'll explain what's the value of observing the sessions. Now, the reasons for that usually is really because we don't know what to focus on during the sessions. And also a matter of we assume that it's, we need to give them the space, the therapist, right? We need to give them space to work. So we kind of like refrain from engaging or trying to be more involved. The thing is that you don't have to be involved if you are just observing the session, but we'll talk about it in a few minutes. The third mistake that parents make is that really most of us do not set goals, or at least ask for specific and measurable goals at the beginning of the training. When we really start working with those therapists, we kind of like give them the latitude to work with our kids based maybe on an evaluation, but we let them do their work, and they do, most of the time, they do magnificent work, and they're very creative. The thing is that we trust them so much that we forget to set goals with them and to understand what is it exactly that we're working toward to. So this is number 3. We do not set goals with them, or at least some kind of a vision of where we go into. Like, this is the need, and where are we going to? Like in a month or two, what will my child be able to do in a month or two from now? We don't do that. Number 4, most of us do not share our struggles and difficulties with the therapist, meaning that when we have a need, right, when our child has a need for a therapy, occupational therapy, speech pathology, whether it's just like just helping with language acquisition, it's because we have some difficulty at home, or we see that the child has some difficulty. Many of us don't discuss it with the therapist, and I think it's a big mistake. The therapist should not just learn about it from their conversations with teachers or from the evaluation. They should hear us, the parents. We should have a conversation with them, not just at the beginning of the training, but I think periodically. So the fourth mistake that we make is really we maybe feel too shy, or maybe it's not appropriate. I don't know, but I think it's a big mistake that parents make by not sharing their struggles and difficulties. Now, how to get more of the session. So I'm going to go back to the 4 mistakes and give a few tips how to really overcome them and get more out of the sessions with the therapists. So I spoke about the idea, the mistake that we look at it as a tutoring session rather than instead of a training program. Now you should know that therapists want to help, and they will put extra time and energy for those parents who are dedicated and willing to learn, and we can understand that by just testing the water with them at the beginning, see who's really into it, who's not. Most of the therapists that I've worked with, whether for my children or as a family coach, I don't remember even one therapist who was not willing or ready to help parents. They're just, it's amazing. I know we should not generalize, but when it comes to therapists, they're amazing. I mean, again, my experience taught me that they are so dedicated and they're willing to help. So when we hire them, there is so much that we can get out of that interaction. And it shouldn't be just the first time. And we should not feel as if we're nagging them, but rather as a source of inspiration and guidance. Okay? So let's switch that perspective. Let's make the shift from a tutoring session, it's not a tutoring, but rather we have an opportunity to learn from an expert in the field of human development and language acquisition or language development. Okay. Now, if you can, try to stay for the session. I know that sometimes we are trying, we're running a few schedules, right? If we have 3 kids, 4 kids, 2, it doesn't matter. We're all busy. So we drop the kid for the session, and then we move on probably to go and when we lived in New York, I remember we used to drop my daughter and then go in the meantime do the shopping across the street in the supermarket, and then came back, picked her up, and walked home. The thing is that this is an opportunity to learn a lot about the child, what he or she can do, and what kind of activities you can reinforce at home, can continue and do at home, also with your creativity. So staying and observing the sessions are really key component in their development, in the development of your child. Now, yes, maybe you're not, you don't feel comfortable with asking, can I stay for the session? So as I said, you can feel it really at the beginning of the training, at the beginning of this relationship, and see if it's something that they're open to. Obviously, you don't have to stay for every session. It could be once in a while. And you don't have to stay for the entire duration of the session, right? For the entire session, you can stay for first 15 minutes or so. It doesn't matter how long, but it's really important that you will stay and observe, see, again, your child's activity, your child's acting, right? And the kind of activities. What does the therapy do with your child? Very, very important, so that you can learn and reinforce. And remember, usually these sessions take place once a week. So, and we always have some kind of interruption because there is this holiday and vacation and a day off, and sometimes the therapist is sick or busy or vice versa. So it's not really consistent. And even if it's consistent, it's only once a week. So you want to learn what are the things that you do, and maybe you can modify things that you already do at home and change them according to what you have just learned. From again, you look at your therapist, at the occupational therapy or speech pathology, as an expert who can help you, who's there and ready to help you when it comes to language acquisition and human development and fine motor skills and gross motor skills, right? Orientation in space and all these skills. So you can ask, it's okay, can I stay for just a little bit? And you see their reaction. Say, yes, of course, sure. So you can say, okay, you can try the beginning 5-10 minutes, and I say, wow, I love it. And if you see something during the session, be generous with your feedback. Be generous with how you feel and express it, and engage in a conversation with them about what they did and how much you appreciate it. And if you do something to reinforce it at home, therapists will love hearing from you that you're doing something that they do, and so that you reinforce it at home. They will be more than happy to do so. So to hear that you are doing something that they are once a week practicing with your child. So this is something that you should know about therapists. Now, if you really enjoy it and you want to learn more, you can ask, listen, I really enjoy your sessions. Is it okay if I stay for longer? And that's it. Now, if you see that right from the beginning that the therapist is not interested in you staying and observing the sessions, you can ask if they have recorded sessions so that you can, because you want to base the establish some kind of understanding that you are there to learn. You're not there to judge. You're really there to learn, and by agreeing to start the sessions, this is the trust that you give in the therapist. So it's not about checking on them, but rather more of a learning opportunity. So you ask if they have recorded sessions that you can watch and learn about the different strategies that they're doing, or if they can record on an iPad or another device the sessions so that you can learn and reinforce it at home during the session, in between the sessions. So if staying and observing the session doesn't work, you can ask for recording. Now, about the goals, very, very important right at the beginning to, when you speak about your, why you're going, why you need the, parents usually reach out to therapists because there is the child has an evaluation, and in the evaluation it's recommended to get a speech therapist or occupational therapist. So that's one. Or the teacher recommends that they will reach out to a certain therapist, or they see something at home and they're like, oh, I want this early intervention, and they reach out to their community or friends or something like that. So they have these are really the main three reasons why parents reach out to therapists. So we right at the beginning, when you reach out to a therapist, you want to discuss with them the situation and what would be a goal. It could be after the first session, after they have learned, after the introduction, they know more or less about your child's capabilities, and they are they're expert in their field, so they can really know about the capabilities and the skills, the current skills where your child is, right from the first session. So they will be able to tell you, okay, your child is here right now, and in a few months he can acquire these skills XYZ. You want them to reiterate that because you want yourself to understand where you're heading, and that so that when your child is coming home and you do it, it's becoming a team effort, not just like it's something that the therapist does. So you want to make it some kind of a reinforcement at home, as I said before, but also that you're working toward a goal and it's not just being stretched all over the year, the school year, and then we're going back again the next year. The teacher, the therapist will really appreciate it. The therapist and also, educators, usually when they see something that, if the parents come with the right attitude, they appreciate it because they see that there is a dedication here and there is a partnership, and parents are really open to learn. So if you do it with the right attitude, I promise you the therapist will be happy, more than happy, to really establish goals. And it doesn't have to be too specific in a way of like micromanaging the process. It can be, somehow specific, but not. It doesn't have to be too specific. So it's bounding, and if they don't reach it, oh no, there is a problem. Okay, fine. If they don't reach it, then maybe there's something else that they can do. But it's very important that we will know where we're heading. Also, you want to have milestones in achieving throughout the process, because you want to make sure that your child knows that you acknowledge his or her progress, that there is some kind of value to these sessions. Many times students go to work with occupational therapist or a speech pathologist out of a habit, and they don't always enjoy it. It takes away from their free time in the afternoon. So in the back of their mind, they know that they need it. They're being told that they need it, but many of them don't really like it. And for them, imagine yourself, you go to the gym, but you just go by the motion, and then you don't really know why you're going there, and you don't really notice the progress that you make. Would you continue going to the gym? Obviously not. So you want to explain, if your child is mature enough and your communication is very healthy and open, you can discuss with them the goals that you have. If your child is very young and is not, or she's not ready to have that kind of conversation, you can celebrate milestones with your child and the therapist, just so that they can really acknowledge the fact that they see that you acknowledge their progress and their efforts with some prizes and rewards. Why not? Of course. Okay, so now we spoke about the first issue, which is shifting our perspective on these sessions with the therapist. These are not tutoring sessions. We're talking about experts in their fields, human development, language acquisition. So we need to look at them as a source of inspiration and guidance. Number 2, we want to stay more and observe the sessions. It doesn't have to be the entire session. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 10 minutes, it can be longer. And if you feel that there is some kind of resistance, which could be, you can ask for recorded sessions. If you see that this is also some kind of you see their reaction. If they're not comfortable with it, you can ask them, what could be the reason for it. And but from my experience and experience of people who I worked with, who have worked with therapists, it's usually not a problem. Really not a problem. We had in New York an occupational therapist. She was an angel, but I actually she had a waiting room, and I could not enter and observe the room. But what I did, we had a day off, and I said, I called her, I said, beforehand, of course, and said, can we meet maybe for 5-10 minutes so you can show me what you do in your studio? So she couldn't go to the studio because someone else was using it on that day, but she said, I'll come to your house. So she came to our apartment in New York, and she really showed us a lot of activities, and I was so shocked. I was surprised that she was willing to come, and she stayed for like an hour or even more. Showed us different games and activities. Our daughter was like, I think, 4 years old back then, and she showed us so many different ways to help her with her orientation in space, keeping her space to herself. It was marvelous. It was really, I appreciate it so much. And I will forever be grateful for that. But I'm saying this is an example of, okay, this doesn't work, but let's find an alternative. Okay, so I entered the room a few times after, not during the sessions, but just to see the room, how it looks like, the kind of games that they were playing, and then we got her to come home. So you can manage, you can find the solution and find a way for them to work. We had another speech pathologist who actually, she agreed for me to stay, so I could see the games that they were playing and the language she was using with my daughter, and really helped me understand to what kind of language, really fine-tuning in the language that my daughter was responding better and understanding better. We are a trilingual household, so we speak Hebrew, French, and English at home. So the language development of our children is very different and unique. So we need the guidance to do that. So I could stay there and I really observed the sessions, and I learned a lot. And all of them, as I said before, these are really experts in their fields, and and we want to make sure as parents now, we want to make sure that we see them, that they know that we see them as experts in their field and their source of guidance and inspiration. The number 3, what I was talking about, goals, again, you should know that after the first session, your child's therapist will know a lot about your child. They will be able to grasp on those skills that are still underdeveloped, things that they can do, that they will be able to tell you right away. So you don't have to make it formal, like write it down with an email or type it in email. You can, but you don't have to if you don't feel comfortable with that. But you want to have something, some kind of a vision, some kind of a goal that tells you, okay, by March or by May or by Memorial Day, we really want her to be able to write a whole sentence and using nouns, pronouns, adjectives, whatever it is. If it's a child with dyslexia or something like that, I'm just thinking about something. But you want to have some kind of a goal, specific and with a time-bound outcome. Why? Because we want, first and foremost, understand where we're heading also, so that our children will know that we are aware of their process, that we know where they're going, that they know where they're going, and we will celebrate certain milestones along that process. Again, think about going to the gym, not knowing why, and not seeing results, not noticing the results. Will you want to continue going to the gym? Obviously not. Okay, so this is about the goals. And number 4, the last one, is sharing our struggles and difficulties. Now, if there is one person, one practitioner before your therapist that should hear about the things that you go through as a parent with your child, is the occupational and the speech pathology. Why? Again, because they are a source of guidance and inspiration in their field, human development, language acquisition and development. You can share with them. Don't bombard them with issues that are not related. Be specific, be concrete. Give them specific examples and come with a question. Ask permission to ask questions. Very important. So ask permission. For example, I remember doing it, the session was 45 minutes with my daughter. So every once in a while we did like a half-hour session, so a short session where the last 15 minutes were for my wife and I, where we asked questions. We just continued it afterwards. on the phone. And the therapist stayed with us on the phone more than 15 minutes. We did not expect that, but again, these people are child-centered and they're really passionate about helping families and their kids in these particular skills. So remember that it's okay to share with them your struggles and difficulties. They will help you. They are the address, as I said. They are educators and they know so much about what you are going through because they also work with different families. So they hear and they know, they see the different issues. They can tell you what's normal, what's part of raising kids, the normal challenges. But what needs really, what could be more of an issue that needs to be addressed. Also, they work with different schools with different children from different schools, so they can also tell you what's going on in other schools and help you compare and get some kind of perspective about your expectations of what you think your child should be doing or being able to. So they also, remember, they are experts in their fields and they work with different families from different schools in the community or outside the community. So they have they have very multifaceted ideas about the skills and the capabilities of children in your child's age. So this is why it is recommended to share with them. Again, ask permission to share your challenges and difficulties because, again, guidance, they are a source of guidance and inspiration. So that's all for today. It's been a pleasure. I am very happy that you could watch us tonight. Again, we were talking about the biggest mistakes that we parents make with our children's occupational therapists and speech pathologists, and what are the things that we can do to get more of the sessions. We spoke about 4 big mistakes, and they are: 1, we see them as tutors, not instead of like expert in their fields. 2, we don't stay to observe the sessions. We don't really know what's going on, what kind of activities that they do. 3, we don't set goals, so we just send the kids and not knowing what is it that we should expect at a certain time and to what degree. And number 4, we are too shy to share with them our challenges about the child. I'm not talking about you and your partner. I'm talking about children. So we spoke about these four kind of mistakes that we make and how we can overcome them by getting more from the sessions. That's it. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.